And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Now many of you do not know this, but I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. And so I grew up just right near the bay, the Chesapeake Bay, and I grew up eating fresh seafood out of the Chesapeake Bay. And two of my favorite things in this world are steamed blue crabs and steamed shrimp. And today we're going to be making one of my all-time favorite dishes, which is steamed shrimp, Maryland style. And then we're going to be having corn on the cob, just fresh corn on the cob, and roasted rosemary potatoes with that. And then for dessert, we're going to have a brownie chocolate tart with strawberries. It's going to be delicious. But the first thing I need to do is get my potatoes in the oven because they take the longest to cook. The shrimp just takes a couple of minutes. I've already cleaned and diced up in about an inch or so pieces. I left the peelings on because they were very clean and I scrubbed them. And that's where a lot of your vitamins and nutrients are. And we've already got some red potatoes, so I'm just going to get this last one cut up. This is a recipe that I've been doing for a long time, and I've just kind of customized it to my own. I found it originally on the back of those dry onion soup mixes that we're going to use, but then I add a couple of things to mine that make it mine. So we've got, probably about 3 pounds of potatoes or so here. You use however many you need. Then I'm going to add, for this many potatoes, probably about 1/4 of a cup or so of extra virgin olive oil. I use extra virgin olive oil quite a bit because it's heart healthy and it's good for you. And keep that handy because you might need some more. We're going to add 1 package of just the dry onion soup mix that you get in any grocery store out there, over there where the canned soups and the broths and things are. And I add to mine a teaspoon of crushed rosemary. Now, if you have fresh rosemary, by all means use that. But you know, rosemary is one of those herbs that I find truly is very, very good dried. So I do use the dried rosemary quite a bit. I'm not going to add any salt because the dry onion soup mix has got a lot of sodium in it. So we're not going to add any extra salt to it. But I am going to add some freshly cracked pepper, just fresh ground pepper. And I had a letter that a viewer sent to me, and she wanted to know what kind of salt I used. And I used just regular kosher salt that you get in any of your grocery stores over there where they sell, you know, the spices and the seasonings, just kosher salt, the coarse grind. And the peppers, corn, she asked me what kind of peppercorns I use. I just use the black peppercorns. And I do have a pepper mill that has the blend in it, but I find that's not quite spicy enough for my taste. So I use that when I really don't want the heat. But I use just the black peppercorns. That's all I use. Let me grab a spoon. And we're just going to stir this up in the bowl, making sure that you have enough olive oil. And sometimes you will need to add some extra olive oil to this dish. But this is probably my favorite way to have potatoes. I just love them. And in the summertime, when you're grilling, you can do this very same recipe up to this point. Now I'm going to put mine in the oven today, but you could put these in, you know, individual servings or in one big long package inside a double layer of aluminum foil, wrap it up and seal it and put it on your grill. I've done that many times and it's yummy, and that way you don't dirty up another pan. I think I do need just a little touch more olive oil with mine. You just want to make sure that the potatoes are good and coated, because what that will do is give them that yummy brown exterior, which is what we want. So we want to pour those out. I've lined my baking dish, and one of the new products that's out there that I have just fallen in love with is the new non-stick aluminum foil. If you have not tried it, I recommend highly that you try the non-stick aluminum foil, especially for something like this, because you know, your potatoes sometimes will stick to the foil, but it will not to the non-stick. So that's what I'm using. There's one that didn't get a whole lot, so let's just, you kind of want these out in a single layer, just like that. Just make sure that they're all out there, and you want your oven preheated to 425 degrees. These go in the oven for about 20 minutes or so. So let's get these in the oven. Now we are going to make our brownie crust. Now to this, I have bought just one small box in my dairy department, no, not the dairy department, the bakery department of my grocery store. I bought just a box of these little pre-made up little brownie bites. You could by all means make your own homemade brownies if you wanted to, or you could use the box make your brownies. But you want to have, I would say probably we'll finish up with maybe 1.5 cups to 2 cups of the chopped brownies, and we're going to put those in our food processor. One just fell. And we're going to just chop these up really fine. Just are making a crust with this. You know, sometimes we'll do this with chocolate cookies, chocolate wafers. We're going to do it with brownies today, and it will be absolutely delicious. I love brownies, so anything made with a brownie to me is good. This is what we're making our crust out of. So you want to put your brownie crumbs in your bowl. We've got about probably 2 cups or so of the brownie crumbs. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of just melted butter, and we're going to stir that together. And I am making a mess here. Let's put our brownies back in there. You just want to moisten the brownie bites is what you're doing, the crumbs. We have a tart pan here. Just the tart pan is just got the removable bottom. We're going to line our tart pan with our brownie crumbs, and we're going to bake this at 325 degrees for about 6 minutes or so. We're just going to press this out, and I use my fingers. Like I've said so many times before, your hands are your best tools. They work better than spoons and knives many times for ripping apart, but your hands truly are the best tools that you can have. Just make sure they're clean. And you just want to press this out. You see how I'm doing it. We're just forming the crust for our wonderful tart. This is delicious. It's got just some apple jelly in there. I'm not using apple today. You could use apple. I'm going to use strawberry today. If you wanted to make it with apple slices, you could use apple jelly. It's got a layer of jelly, then it's got a layer of chocolate, and then it's got a layer of fruit, and then it's topped all off with the melted preserves. Now, I have 1 jar of, I'm using the all-fruit strawberry preserves today, and I'm just going to melt that. I'm just putting the entire jar in a small saucepan, and I've got my heat very low because all I'm doing is melting this jam. It's just strawberry preserves, or I keep wanting to say preserves, but it's just the all fruit, and we just want to melt that ever so gently on very low heat. I'm going to get my tart pan in the oven. I'll be right back with you to show you how we finish this meal. I'll be right back. Hey, and welcome back. Now we've got our tart pan in the oven with our brownie crust. We've got our potatoes in the oven, and they're roasting away. I have got a pan here, a pot here, that I've just got some boiling water in. We're just going to have corn on the cob, which is kind of a traditional thing with this meal. And to my water, I don't add salt. When I'm cooking fresh corn, I do not add salt to my water. I personally think it makes the kernels tougher, the outer shell of the corn. But I am going to add just a little bit of sugar, probably about a tablespoon of sugar, because the corn right now is not quite in its full season, and so that just sort of helps to sweeten it up. And I've just got 5 ears of corn that I have broken in half, because I like the little half sizes better myself. I just think it's easier to eat instead of the whole big corn. My water. Let me cut this last one in half. I score it around the middle, and then just break it in half if I can. We might just have to cut this one a little bit more. Be careful with your knife. This cob is hard, so we might just have one full. There we go. And we're just going to add that to our water, and that's just going to hang out Fresh corn does not take that long. It just takes, you know, maybe 3 to 4 minutes is really all I like to cook corn. I think if you go overboard with it, it just gets tough. So we'll just put the lid on that. We're going to turn that down, and we're just going to kind of let that hang out. Now, we've got to get our strawberries prepped for our wonderful sweet brownie bite. So I've just bought a container of fresh strawberries, and I'm going to leave them whole because I'm going to show you how we're going to do this beautiful tart in just a minute. Our tart shell will be coming out of the oven in just a couple of minutes. And like I said, I grew up, for the first 7 years of my life anyway, on the Chesapeake Bay. We didn't live on the bay, but we lived near the Chesapeake Bay. And I can remember as a child, one of the funniest stories that I had as a child, my daddy, it seems to me like it was on Friday nights, but it could have been any other night of the week, but it seems to me like it was on Friday nights. We would go down to the boat docks to where the fishing boats would bring in the fresh crabs that they caught on the bay. And I remember one particular time we went down to the docks to get the fresh crabs. They come in big bushel baskets full, and then we would come home and Mom would steam them. And I remember one time we went down to get the fresh crabs, and we brought them home, and Daddy took the lid off of the container, which is full of fresh crabs, and those crabs were scattered all over our kitchen floor. And I remember just as a child just scampering up on the table because I didn't want them to pinch me. You know, crabs have those pinchers on them that hurt if you get pinched, and I can't, every time I eat crab, I think about that story from my childhood of climbing up on the table to eat the fresh blue crabs that we would go get at the docks. And if you've ever had the opportunity to eat fresh steamed blue crabs, pretty much anywhere on the, near the shoreline, you can get the whole crab. And we need to do a program on that, but they are absolutely delicious. Like I said, I'm just going to leave my strawberries whole, and we're just going to place them really decoratively on our tart pan. Now, my potatoes are in the oven, the tart pan's on the oven, and the corn is in the pot. We're going to do the shrimp. Now, I have a pot here that I have just got about a cup or so of water. And what I'm going to do is, because I don't have a steamer pan per se, because you don't want these shrimp to be down in the water, I'm going to add about a cup of vinegar. You could use cider vinegar. We're using white vinegar today. We're going to add about a cup of the vinegar. That just adds a flavor that you got to have the vinegar in the bottom part. I don't have a steamer pot, so what I'm going to do is take a bowl, turn it upside down, and just place it in the bottom of my pan. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in just a second so that you can see. Let me show you what I've done here. See how I've just turned that upside down? I've got my heat set on high. In every grocery store now, and in all of the Walmarts, the Targets, anywhere you go, you can get these little collapsible steamers. And they are wonderful for so many different things, but today we're going to use it for shrimp because it just expands just like that. They're like $3. They don't cost very much money at all. And this is what we want. We're going to place this over top of the bowl. And what that will do is keep the shrimp from being in contact with the liquid, because we're not boiling our shrimp, we're steaming our shrimp today. And I have a product here that I grew up with, and this is just, to me, steamed shrimp or crabs or crab cakes for that matter, have to have this product. It's the Old Bay seasoning. Get it in any grocery store out there in your spice section. I grew up with this stuff. There are many other crab boil type products out on the market. I just happen to like this one. Now today, I am using frozen shrimp. Now, this is one of those occasions that truthfully, you can go to the seafood market and you can buy the fresh, well, they've never been fresh because they've got the heads cut off, the thawed out shrimp, but truthfully, I find the frozen bagged shrimp that you buy in your grocery store for this recipe is absolutely delicious, and it's a whole lot less expensive. And I've got 2 bags because it just so happens at my store they were on sale, buy one, get one free. So we got 2 bags of just the medium size shrimp. They still have the tails, they still have the shell, they still have the legs. It's very important with this particular dish that you buy the shell on shrimp. You do not want the pre-cooked, deveined, the shell already removed. You want to have the shell on and the tail on for this particular dish. Now we're going to bring our liquid up. We've got our 1 cup of vinegar, 1 cup of water in the bottom of our pot. Now what we're going to do, if they want to just kind of move down here with me, we're going to layer this in there. We're going to put a layer of our shrimp, a single layer of our shrimp in here, and we're going to sprinkle it with the Old Bay seasoning. I like a lot of this. It's very spicy, so you use as much or as little as you like. I happen to love it, so I use a lot. Then we're going to put another layer of our shrimp, and some of this Old Bay will leak down into the bottom into your cooking liquid, so it just flavors it even more. Oh, and I wish you could smell this. It just smells so incredibly good. And I hear my water boiling away, so we got to get this going. Just keep layering your shrimp, topping it with your Old Bay seasoning. You could use the bigger shrimp if you want. I just like the medium-sized shrimp for this. If I was grilling them, I probably would put them a little bigger, but for this, the medium size is just perfect. And then just the final layer of our shrimp. We want to get that in there. See how I've just got that covered with that spice. Get your lid on it, and it goes for about 6 minutes or so, or until the shrimp turn bright pink. I'll be right back with you in just a moment. Okay, now for our tart, we took our brownie crumbs and our butter, and we've baked that. That's cooling. We need to make our chocolate ganache. This is one of those things that I use for a lot of different recipes. I have 1 cup of chocolate chips, just regular chocolate chips, and 1 cup of half and half. And I've warmed this half and half in the microwave for just about 1.5 minutes because I want it to be hot. This is an easy, quick way to make a chocolate ganache, which can be used in so many different ways. Pour the hot milk, or cream, in this case it's half and half, over your chocolate chips. And what the heat of the cream will melt your chocolate chips for you. And you just stir and just keep stirring, and it takes it a minute, and it'll look like it's not doing anything, and then all of a sudden you start getting this glossy, chocolatey, delicious ganache that is so good. And I think I'm going to grab a whisk, because sometimes it's easier to do this with a whisk. So we will go ahead and get our whisk together. You see how it's starting to, the chocolate is starting to melt. You see how we're getting this chocolatey, yummy ganache. It changes colors. And I think I may need to add just a few more little chocolate to this. So this is just a little bit runnier than what I want. So we can just add some more chocolate chips. That's okay, the milk is still hot. I'm going to add about another, I'd say, half a cup to mine. You know, anytime that you're baking and you're making anything like that, the humidity of the air will affect. Have you noticed that? How that sometimes you'll need more flour or less flour, more liquid or less liquid in your recipe. And it's because of the humidity that's in the air. So there we go. And now this we're going to put over our cooled crust. We've got our jar of strawberry, turn my corn down here, our strawberry fruit spread, our strawberry preserves. We've got that melted in our pan, and we're going to assemble our tart. Now, we've got our brownie crust here. We've got, remember, we put a jar of the strawberry fruit spread in the pan to kind of melt, so we want to put just about probably, I don't know, half of that jar in here. You want to save some for the top. And just spread that on the bottom crust of that brownie. It smells so good. I love strawberries. And when strawberries come into season, I eat them all the time. I just absolutely love them. So there we've got our wonderful, beautiful strawberries. We've got our ganache. Remember, we just mixed this up. We want to pour some of this over our brownie crust and just kind of spread that out. This will cool in the refrigerator for just a little bit before we serve. So we've got our chocolate ganache there. Then we've got our beautiful little strawberries. Remember, we just kind of left them whole. You just want to place these just like I'm doing here. That one's kind of big, so let me cut him in half. Just kind of place these in a decorative manner on top of your tart. Then you want to take the rest of your strawberry preserves and you want to just pour over each one of the strawberries. Now what that does is that just adds not only flavor, but it will just really add a pretty gloss. You see how it just really shines those strawberries? It makes them look so good. And just fill in with the rest of your strawberry. This needs to be chilled for a couple of hours before you eat it, but there you go, there's your finished strawberry tart. We'll just put that off to the side there. Looks yummy. Now, our potatoes are done. Let me grab those. Our shrimp is done. Let me check our shrimp real quick. Yeah, you see how it's turned pink? You see how the shrimp has turned the pink color? That is how you know shrimp is done. Do not, and I cannot emphasize that fact enough, do not overcook your shrimp. If you do, they become hard and they become leathery and they are not good. So we're going to turn that off because they are done. Our corn also is done. Let me grab something because lid is very, very hot. Our corn is also done. So let's get our shrimp, let's get our potatoes out of the oven. Let's get them out. They look yummy. And our roasted potatoes are done. They're ready to eat, so let's get those stirred. You see how pretty and goldeny brown they get? And they're just simply delicious. And this is my favorite way to have potatoes. I love them like this. So we want to serve this up. We want to put some of our potatoes on our plate. And we want to add one of our beautiful ears of corn here. Get my tongs. Now, like I said, I break mine in half because I just think it's easier. It's easier to eat that way. And we'll get our beautiful shrimp out of there. Let me move our potatoes out of the way. Get my left-handed here. Using the wrong arm, aren't I? Let's get those out of the way, and let's get our wonderful shrimp. I'll show you how to eat these shrimp, too, because some people don't know how to eat them. They've got the shells on. Take just a few of your beautiful, beautiful shrimp. I've got some melted butter here that we're just going to pour over our corn, just a little bit, because I like my corn simply steamed or boiled with just a little bit of melted butter on it. I don't like all the other stuff, and just a touch of salt on our corn. Let's chop a little bit of parsley, and I'll show you how we're going to eat those wonderful shrimp. Just get yourself a pretty little bit of parsley. My water's just still boiling away over there. And just sprinkle that over your corn and your corn on the cob. And now let me show you how to eat these shrimp. They're hot. Be careful. Take your little shrimp. See the middle, those little legs? Just pinch them off. It's hot. And your shell will come off with it. Just like that. This is best served over a big pile of newspaper. Dip it down in some extra spice there. And there you go. There's one of my favorite meals. Just Maryland steamed shrimp, roasted potatoes with corn on the cob, and a beautiful brownie strawberry tart for dessert. I hope that you will try these recipes. They're yummy, and you can just, you can use the frozen shrimp like I did, and it doesn't have to be expensive, and it's something different for your family. Try this today, would you? We'll see you next time on Everyday Manna.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Everyday Manna and would like a copy of today's recipes, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, Post Office Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212, or visit our website at www.livingfaithtv.com. Please be sure to include the program number found at the bottom of the screen in your letter.